Welcome back to Third Eye Weekly, brought to you by AT&T. I'm your host, Zach.
I'm your host, Lisa.
We've got a new site up and running. It's btrtoday.com. Go check it out. We got 3 easy-to-use tabs: read, watch, and listen, where you can stream, listen to, and read all of our amazing content.
Yep, and be sure to check out our new app coming out for our Android version. Right now, you can get us on the iPhone and the iPad.
That's right. And it's Natural Week here at BTR Today. So we're going to talk about ways that you can sustain a natural conversation that you could once maybe experience in the classroom with your college education after you've graduated. So Lisa and I had the privilege of attending an event called a Think Olio last week. Now, brief history on Think Olio. First of all, olio, if you look it up in the dictionary, means a smattering of things that have come together. It's kind of a hodgepodge, which I love that word.
Yeah, that's a great word.
And this is all things words. These guys formed at the end of their college education when they realized they wanted to continue the learning process outside of the classroom, but weren't sure how to really proceed by doing that. They didn't want to enroll again, and there wasn't really any sort of environment to facilitate that kind of group learning experience with a professor. And so what they did was they picked one of their favorite professors. They invited him over to their apartment. They got a bunch of beers, 7 other buddies. The professor came over with his dog, and they sat down to talk about Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut.
Nice.
And little did, I'd be down to do that.
Very nice.
Little did they know that they were going to start this series called Olios, Think Olios, where professors are invited and they teach on a variety of topics in a much more laid-back setting, which could be a cafe, it could be a bar, it could be a best friend's living room, and really extend that learning process outside. So this week we're going to be talking with David Kurfürst, who's one of the 2 founders. Chris is the other co-founder of Think Olio, and it raises some interesting questions about, is it really possible to emulate that kind of learning experience outside of the classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the best things is that they have this slogan about taking the classes that you wish you could have taken. And I think about that, and when you're leaving college, you're trying to emulate some sort of class or some sort of experience that you hope to maybe have outside of college. But I really don't think it's like anything you can experience like in a classroom, circling around all your peers and with an actual professor that can facilitate a conversation. Because usually, conversations digress and you never really actually culminate to a real point or experience. So I think it's really difficult to actually bridge that and create that outside of the classroom.
I see what you're saying, and the classroom definitely has a more sterile, focused kind of setting, whereas the Olio that we went to, which was also on Kurt Vonnegut, the conversation was based around a fire, and we were all drinking and we were smoking, and it's definitely a lot looser. The approach is more freewheeling, and so you don't have that kind of like razor sharp focus and silence and chalk dropping kind of like silence you get in a classroom setting. So I agree in the sense that it can't be necessarily simulated in that degree, but I think it's almost better to have a more relaxed environment. And I do think that you can still reach that kind of culminative conclusion. It just happens in maybe a more natural or roundabout way.
Well, let's just put it this way. When you're in college and usually you have to do some sort of pre-reading before like a discussion in a classroom, most people didn't do the pre-reading. So if it's not even in a classroom where there's no teacher telling you to read the text before showing up, likely nobody's read the text and everyone's just kind of talking, off the cuff.
Okay, so I got a point of contention. So I agree, no one's going to necessarily do the pre-reading if they're not required to do the pre-reading, but at the same time, who's going to go to an Olio unless they want to be there in the first place?
Good point.
These aren't the people who were forced to go through their prereq classes, who are sitting there, who probably didn't do the reading but had to pretend that they did. These are the people who cared enough to go to this Olio. They could have been out going to the bar with their friends. They could have been at home watching Netflix and chilling. But instead, they decided they wanted to go and learn about something, even though no one told them they had to, and there was no grade at stake, which is my favorite part about Olio. There are no grades. There are no judgments. It's learning for the sake of learning. And how much more natural does the process get than that?
Sure. Yeah. I definitely see your point there, but then again, people are still lazy.
People are lazy.
Might be interested, but might not actually make the actual effort to create what you might create in a classroom.
True.
It's a little bit more disciplined.
Well, we're hoping that for all you lazy folks, for all you non-lazy folks out there, this is something that will really appeal. And for those that want to continue the pursuit of knowledge, it is perfect. It's a great arena for it. So stay tuned for our interview with David. It's got a lot of great information, pretty inspiring stuff. And tune in next week when we talk about some of the epidemics that we face as a country. But until then, thanks for tuning in to Third Eye Weekly. I'm your host, Zach.
I'm Lisa.